Okay, what I want to talk about now is we want to practice working with the ADAS graph. Here's the ADAS graph, and then obviously we're looking at the Keynes graph. Okay? We've thrown in long-run aggregate supply to let us know that we're in a state where aggregate demand is hitting aggregate supply before it gets to long-run aggregate supply, or the equilibrium. You can show the same thing on the Keynesian graph, where here is full employment equilibrium, and the current equilibrium hitting the 45-degree line is hitting it before it gets to full employment. So we are in a recession. This is a recessionary state. We are not producing at full employment. Okay? You can either do one, you can do a production possibilities curve, and this is just, let's say this is capital goods, and these are consumer goods, and here's a production possibilities curve. We are producing here, right? And we want to get to here. So, you know that a change in AD can come from a couple different things. It can come from a change in money supply, it can come from a change in foreign exchange or foreign trade, it can come from future expectations, and it can also come from a change in government spending or taxes. And we call that fiscal policy, right? The government can make a law, it can pass legislation that can either increase or decrease government spending, or it can increase or decrease taxes. And each one of those things would have a reaction on AD that would move AD in a certain direction. Now we can see that we want to increase AD to this point right here, much like we want to increase the aggregate expenditure curve to this point. So we're going to need to use the government to do something if we're going to use fiscal policy. And we're going to have, let's say our multiple prints that it consumes is 0.8. So, and in this scenario we have a $200 billion recession. So the question is, do we have to actually increase our government spending by $200 billion, or can it be less than it? And we also have to figure out if this is contractionary or expansionary fiscal policy. So, if this was a class, I would ask a question. Does anyone have any questions?
Is this expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy?
Say that louder again, please.
Is this expansionary or contractionary fiscal policy?
Thank you, student. You can sit down now. We want to expand the government spending or lower taxes. This will be expansionary fiscal policy because we are growing AD. Thank you, student, for doing that. And we know our MPC equals 0.8. So to figure out how much we're going to need to increase spending by or decrease taxes by, we use our multiplier, right? And so we know that it's 1 over 1 minus MPC or 1 over MPS equals the government multiplier. So we know that MPC is 0.8, so MPS has to equal 0.2 because together they have to equal 1. So 1 over 0.2 equals 5. So our multiplier is 5. So if we want to increase government spending, we just take the gap here, the $200 billion divided by 5, and we need to, and it comes up to 40, and we need to increase government spending by $40 billion. So this would be an increase of G of 40 billion, and that would alleviate this. And it would look like, our new curve would look like this, and it would be C plus I plus G sub 1 because we have a new level of government spending. Or what we can do is we can change taxes. So we could lower taxes. Well, how much do we lower taxes by? We know our tax multiplier equals negative MPC over MPS. So it would be negative 0.8 over 0.2, which would be 4, right? Negative 4. So we can reduce our taxes if there's a deficit of 200 billion and we divide that by 4, we can reduce taxes by 50 billion. And we have to reduce taxes by more than we increase government spending because some people, according to our multiple propensity to save and consume, people will hold on to what we know, 20%, and spend the rest. So that would increase AD also, And the new one, if we did tax policy, if we reduce taxes, it'd be C sub 1, because the change in taxes would affect consumer spending, not government, plus I plus G plus X. Okay? Or you could try to do it where you would cut business taxes. And business taxes would probably affect investment, because businesses could invest more. And the investment multiplier is the same as the government multiplier, right? 1 over 1 minus MPC. So when this moves up, when this new aggregate expenditure moves up, AD shifts also, right? So we have AD sub 1. It goes and we have an increase in price level. We have an increase in output. So price level has increased, right? Real GDP has increased. And unemployment, which we say as we move out this way, unemployment goes down. As we move this way, unemployment goes up. Since we moved from Y sub 1 to Y star, then unemployment has gone down. Okay? Could we do the same thing if we were in an inflationary state? Well, we could. So in an inflationary state, the ADAS graph would show that we are consuming and producing beyond, capacity, right? So our graph would look like, here's AD, here's SRAS, here's long run aggregate supply, right? Price level should be right here, but instead it's actually at price sub 1. Here is our full employment output, but actually we're beyond it, right? So if it was on the Keynes graph, it would be a little bit different. If it was on the Keynes graph, it would be, so real GDP and aggregate expenditures, and let's say here's full employment, and let's say here's our 45-degree line, then we would be hitting this beyond it, right? So we would have an inflationary gap. Here's full employment output, here's current output, and so we're in an inflationary state. So, and let's say we'll use the same numbers, we'll say MPC equals 0.8, we'll say MPS equals 0.2. We know that we get NPC because it's a change in C over a change in DI, much like MPS is a change in savings over a change in DI. If we were going to graph this on a production possibilities curve, right? And we had consumer spending over here and capital spending, and here's our curve, we'd be producing here beyond. We'd be in an inflationary state. So, I have a question for a student. I have a question. What should the student ask? I wonder. Hurry up, student. Ask the same question.
Is this expansionary or contractionary
Fiscal policy. Good job. Alright. In this case, it would be contractionary fiscal policy because we want to reduce the output because we're in an inflationary state. So we had the same multipliers, 1 over 1 minus MPC, which is 1 over 0.2, which is 5. So now what we can do is we can reduce, this is C plus I plus G plus X. We need to reduce government spending or increase taxes. Okay? So if we wanted to reduce government spending, again, if it's, let's say it's $200 billion, right, divided by 5 as our multiplier, what we need to do is we need to have contractionary fiscal policy, which would move AD sub 1 this way. So prices would go this way, and our output would go back, and prices would go down. So price level would go down, output would go down, and unemployment would go up. And now we are back to full employment equilibrium output. Here, what we'd see is it would move this way. So if we change government spending, we're now back to here. It would be C plus I plus G sub 1 plus X. You can do the exact same thing with consumer spending by increasing taxes. So contractionary fiscal policy is either increasing taxes or decreasing government spending. Whereas expansionary fiscal policy is increasing government spending or decreasing taxes. And you can decrease income taxes, which would affect C, or you can lower business taxes, which would affect I portion of the GDP. Okay? So this is this, and then next we will do one based on supply, aggregate supply.